Hi, Southern Shotty here, and today we're going to be looking at the new Blender 5.1 SDF grid nodes and how to use them. If you didn't know, SDF grid nodes have been in Blender for a while and enable for some pretty amazing effects like you see from the artist on screen here. In this video, we're going to be using it to create this bubble effect where you can apply bubbles inside of any object. So with that being said, let's dive in and get started. Now, the primary thing that's going to be driving the effect of the bubbles in here is this grid to points node that we now have. What this allows us to do is basically take our mesh density grid and turn it into points that we can use just like we would instancing any other object. Now, the advantage of doing it this way is that we get access to all the features of the SDF grid system in Blender. So if you didn't know, SDF grid nodes in Blender work with signed distance fields. What this essentially means is that they're going to look at the object here, and then they are going to generate a volume based on the distance to the faces and information within that object. But the cool thing is that we get a ton of things that we can do with volumetric operations, including like blending shapes, generating soft booleans, erosion and growth effects. And we actually got several new nodes in this version of Blender that I'm going to show you real quick, and then we'll dive in to create that bubble effect. So here we have all the new grid nodes that we've gotten in this version of Blender, also including the grid to points node, which I've already shown here, that converts your grid into instance points. Let's take a look at these other ones. We have the cube grid topology here. This just basically allows you to create a cube. Think of it like a primitive object, but for SDF grids. Then we have the clip grid option. This actually lets us just go ahead and clip portions of our grid. Then we have this awesome grid dilate and erode option. This allows you to open up the object or to shrink the object down for various erosion effects. And then after that, we have the grid mean and median, which allows you to smooth out these types of operations. Let's take a look at how we can use these new nodes to create that bubble effect we showed in the beginning of the video. I just wanted to take a minute and say if you want to help support the channel, check out some of our products on Superhive, 25% off. Well, let's get back to the video. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to start with a new scene. We're going to delete the default cube. Now, under your preferences and your add-ons here, I want to make sure that you have extra mesh objects enabled. What that's going to do is give you a bunch of extra objects under the mesh menu when you go to add. So we're going to go to add here, mesh, round cube. And if we twirl this up here, we're going to select the quad sphere preset. Now we'll tap into edit mode here. We'll grab this here in the front view, and I'm just going to scale this up on the Z axis until it's a bit oblong here. I'm going to tap back out into object mode here. I'm going to hit Control 2, and that's going to give us a subdivision modifier of 2. We'll just apply that, right click here, and we're just going to shade smooth. Now we're going to come over here to geometry nodes tab, just click this, drag this back over so we can see what we're doing here. And we're going to click new here, and let's call this bubbles. So the first thing we're going to do is convert this to a mesh density grid. So we'll search here for mesh density grid. I'm just going to drag this over here, and you're going to see that it disappears at first. Now I have the Node Wrangler add-on enabled under my nodes. So if I hit Control Shift and click this, I can preview what I'm doing. And you can see here that essentially what it's done is just convert our object here into a volumetric object. So next we're going to convert this to points. So I'm going to search for a grid to points and then just click this here. And you're going to see here that everything disappears. So we're just going to delete our viewer node there and drag our points back here into the output. And now you can see that we have points that have been generated all along where our volume is. So now if we want to control how many instances or points in here, we're going to want to change the voxel size over here on our density grid. You can see here that if we drag it to the right there, that we will get less grids, and that's because the voxel size is larger and actually a lower resolution. But I want you to be careful because if you drag too far to the left, you're going to create a very dense grid and potentially lag your project out. Now let's go ahead and look at how we can alter these to begin building our bubble system. So first, we now have instances, so let's create an instance on points. So I'll search for instance on points here and drag this here. And of course, they're all going to disappear because we need to give them an instance to do. So let's do a icosphere. I'm going to search for icosphere, click this here, plug this here into our instance. It's going to look a bit wonky because they're so large. So we're going to change this to something really small like 0.05. And then I want these to look a little smoother. So let's up that subdivision to 3. So we're starting to get somewhere. Let's make sure that we can see our object. So we can actually take this group input. We're just going to duplicate this and bring this down here. We're going to search for a join geometry. We're going to plug that in down here, click here, And now we can see that we've gotten our mesh back. We'll just leave this here right at the end. So now if we work in wireframe mode, we'll be able to see our bubbles inside of our piece of amber here. Now, I could see here that these aren't smooth shaded. So we're going to just look for set shade smooth. And we're just going to drag that here onto the icosphere just to smooth out those spheres. Now we have a couple problems here. These are all too uniform and they're sitting on a grid. So of course they look like a grid. So we need to randomize the position and the size of these. And then also we can see here that they are breaking the outside of our piece of amber here. And we want those to be clipped off so that they only spawn directly inside. So let's first clip off these extra points. So what we're actually going to do is take the object and use a raycast node and then determine what objects the rays are hitting and what ones they are not. And then by doing a Boolean operator, we can just delete everything that is outside of the egg. So let's add a delete geometry here. And you'll notice here at first, that's going just to delete all of our instance points. And that's because we need to drive the selection of what it's actually deleting. And like I said, we're going to use a raycast node for that. So again, we're going to take this group input node, just bring this over here, and we're going to add a raycast node. So here's a raycast node right here. And for the ray direction, we're going to take a position here, and we're going to do a hit normal here off into a dot product. And then I'm going to bring this down here to this vector here. Now next what we're going to do is take this dot product here. We're going to put this into a not Boolean right there. And then we're going to plug this here into our selection. And you'll notice here that our geometry is still gone. And that's because the raycast doesn't know what to look for. So we need to plug our input in here. Now it's looking at the egg and you'll see here that it actually hasn't changed anything. So we need to do two things. First, we need to come up here to the delete geometry and we only want to delete instances. So it's going to be the objects that we have there. And then we actually need to scale the geometry here to shrink it down so that it doesn't encompass these outer edges here. So right now it's raycasting right here at the edge and these are passing the test and we don't want that. So essentially what we're going to do is scale the egg in here and say, hey, anything that's passed here is cut. And to do that is pretty simple. All we need to do is add a scale elements right here. And then we can begin shrinking it in. And if I switch over here to wireframe, you can see how we can use this just to clip out the edges. So I'm going to do something like 0.92 just to keep them away from the edges of the egg. Now I know we did a lot of math here, so let me stop and explain what this is doing exactly. The raycast is a setup where it is shooting a ray out from each point and reads the direction of the surface facing where the ray has hit. The dot product here is checking whether that hit surface is facing mostly the same direction as the ray or the opposite direction. And then the not is flipping it. So essentially what we're doing is feeding the position of our object here into a ray, to cast out rays, determine what side of that surface is being hit, flip that result, and then say everything that is in that range will be cut. Next, let's look at how we can start to randomize the position and scale of these instances. These are just basic instances, so we can use the same effects we normally do when just generating instances on an object. So first, let's randomize the scale. Now, I want the scale to be uniform, so I'm just going to look for a random value here and use a float value instead of a vector value so that they will all scale independently. Now you can choose whatever range you want here. I don't want them to completely disappear, so I'm going to do 0.1. Now I want to randomize the position of these elements as well. So I will grab a set position here, grab this, and then I'm going to take the position, bring this off into a random value. But this time I want to use a vector value. So make sure you have this set to vector. Now you can set whatever option you want here. You can see here all mine are clustered up here because I have the minimum value set to 0. So I'm going to click and drag across these, which will allow me to highlight them all once, type in a number. I'm going to do -1 there and just leave this at 1. And you can see here I'm getting some pretty good randomization. So if you want to adjust the sizing or randomization, these would be the two nodes you'd want to adjust here. If you want to determine how far they will spawn from the surface, this is the node you want to adjust here. Now, if you want to adjust the amount of the bubbles, you would lower this number here. So if I go to the left here, you can see how I'm getting more bubbles. For now, I'm going to set mine to something like 0.45 and give myself just a few small bubbles. Next, let's work on the materials. So I'm going to switch to render view here, and I'm going to come up here and just turn off my scene world so that I have an HDRI to light my scene. I'm going to create a new material here. I'm going to call this amber, and I'm going to make this transparent here. So I'm going to pick a nice orange color there. We're going to come down here to the transmission, and we're going just to turn the weight up here. You can see right now it's not that see-through because our roughness is too high, so let's bring that roughness all the way down. And you can see here that our bubbles just look like white spheres inside. So we're going to actually feed this color back into it. So let's come down here, take our icospheres, move the set shade smooth over here. We're going to search for a set material and click this here. We will choose a amber material, and you can see that looks better, but it still looks slightly off, not like it's a bubble in there. And that's because we actually want to flip the normals here. And the easiest way to do that is to come here on our icosphere, click search faces. So we want flip faces right there, and we'll drag that there. And you can see immediately how now it's starting to look much more like a natural bubble within our amber. So now the cool thing about this setup is that you can actually take this modifier and apply it to any object, and it will just put bubbles inside of that volume. And you can adjust the settings I spoke about to reach the desired effect. Now, obviously, my final result here looks a little more polished, and all I did is adjust the shader settings slightly. So let me show you what that final shader setup looked like. Now, I ended up using a few images here, but there's nothing that fancy. Down here, I have a layer weight node, and what this is doing is creating an edge. I'm inverting that color, feeding that into a color ramp where I soften the white value a bit and plugging that into my transmission. What that's doing is making it so that the edges aren't as transparent, giving it a more interesting look. You can see the effect here. Now what I did for the normal map is I just have a basic little simple scratch map that I am plugging into the normals, which is kind of just breaking up the surface and giving it a bit more realism. Now here's the most important part. I have a roughness map, which is just a smudge texture, and I just plug that into our roughness. And you can see how that immediately gives us a very realistic result. Now, lastly, this type of color isn't usually perfect the whole way through. So rather than having a uniform orange, what I have here is a little base color map that just has a couple variations in the orange color. When I plug that here into the base color and plug that all back together, you can see the final result that we get here. Now, lastly, I just put an object in there and put a light behind it just to give us a bit more interest and depth to look at. I hope you found this tutorial useful. Let me know what you think in the comments below and what else you'd like to see me do with SDF grids.